found it's very interesting. People do cascading fears, and they do, oh, we had such a good word for it, consecutive fears. So cascading fears start with something like, though, the classic example, you get pulled in front of on the freeway, right? Somebody cuts you off on the freeway. And the first fear is being afraid of getting hit, you know, damaging your car, getting hurt. And then it goes into the other times in your life you felt similar, and before long you're 5 years old and you're upset because, you know, someone took your wagon because they didn't realize you were playing with it because they don't see you and you're not important and that sort of thing. So there's the cascading fear where you start at something and then you follow a train of fears that are similar. Then what do we call the other one? Consecutive. That's not the word we use, but maybe we'll think of the other word. That's where you kind of jump from fear to fear, which is what you just did. You went from, I'm afraid that I won't be able to find housing, to money, to I might not like it, to do I want to live on the planet, right? So your fears go this way. They're not attached other than one leads to the other, where the cascading anxieties. Do you understand the difference? Okay, so these are the two fear patterns that we've observed that you guys like to do. Not just you, but you all, humans, like to do. And this is one of the ways you can catch yourself. This is another way to become conscious. Is before you could even ask us a question about your first fear, you'd already said 2 more. And then before we could get you to stop talking about it, you said 2 more. Right? That's when you have this consecutive fears. You've got them all lined up. And you just go from one to the other. And if you get any, you've talked to people who do this. They'll bemoan something about their job. And you think, oh, well, I could give them some insight about that. Or maybe I could help them get a new job. And you'll say something. And before you can even finish what you're saying, they jump to the fear of, well, my husband and I don't really get along very well. And then you think, oh, well, you know, maybe you guys could get a counselor. And the next thing you know, I think my kid's failing school. And you're thinking, whatever happened to the first one? Which one do you want to talk about, right? So that's the pattern you're working with, Joy. And what happens there is that instead of actually processing a fear, being conscious of it, making it high vibration, and doing this process we've talked about, you feel it, you get all the discomfort, all the anxiety, all the body reactions, and before you can do any work with it, you jump to the next one. Then you feel all the tension in your body, all the fret, all the, and before you can do any work with that, your body kicks up another one. You understand? Mm-hmm. So the key here is to pick one. Pick one. And do the work on that one. And don't let yourself get distracted off of that one fear by the other ones coming along to take your attention away. And then when you get the tug to jump to another fear around money, you say, no, I see the tug coming, but I've made my plan. But be cautious. Remember that jumping. Think of it as fingers. That's how we always picture it. You're thinking it as fingers. You jump from finger to finger to finger. Consecutive. Is that what we said before? Consecutive?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good enough word. Consecutive fears. And the consecutive fear game keeps you in fear very strongly. So catch all of you, we're glad we brought this up. Catch yourself when you're doing consecutive fears or cascading fears. Because both of those situations are a way that the kind of the hamster wheel mind takes over and says, okay, we know how to keep them from thinking about transformation. We'll just hit them with the big 5, you know. Money, food, sex, housing, job. We'll just hit them with it. You know, you don't have enough money. You can't afford to buy food. Nobody loves you. Where are you going to live? how are you going to get a job? Because your job doesn't give you enough money, so you don't have food, so you don't, you know. That's why we think of it as fingers, because there's like the big five. There's probably more, but at least those big five, you run through them, and they go in a circle. Sometimes they go the other way. Woo! Sometimes you cross over. Woo-hoo! Woo-hoo! Where the other one tends to take you to your childhood. You tend.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Is it if the cascading one takes you there, would it be more serve you better to work with from the earliest?
Well, the key there, the helpful thing there is to go, whose voice am I hearing? That's the question to ask yourself when you get down in that cascading fear, because it's usually going to be an authority figure from your youth. Mom, dad, preacher, teacher, boss, maybe early boss. It's the voice. Whose voice am I hearing as I go through these cascading anxieties? And usually it's going to be an authority figure that's telling you who you are, and you're going to be living today as if you were 5, 7, 10, 15. You're actually acting in today's time with the voice from your childhood telling you how to behave. You're not good enough. You'll never amount to anything. You're stupid. You're ugly. No one will love you, right? All that stuff that happens. Telling you who you are today. So some of you've got 10, 20, 30, 40 years worth of that voice. You know, most of you probably have a story of a teacher who was a jerk to you, or, you know, we don't even want to get into the parents. They're not evil parents, but almost all parents say something at one point that sticks in your head that you carry forward and you hear them say. Or a sibling, or a playmate, or a neighbor. So cascading fears or cascading anxieties tend to take you into your childhood where you hear the voice of an authority figure telling you that you're not doing a good something or other. Why can't we remember this word? What's the?
Consecutive.
Consecutive. Oof. Thank you. It's a team effort tonight.
So mine didn't seem very consecutive. It was sort of like jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
It felt very scattered. Right?
Well, they're concurrent maybe.
Yeah.
You know, concurrent rather than cascading is probably a better word. They're concurrent anxieties. So you're holding all 5 or 10 or 20 at the same time, and you bone between them randomly, depending on what connections you decide to make. So concurrent and cascading.
I used to call it what you're calling concurrent in my mind. I'd say I'm just piling them all. Like one thing, maybe think of another thing, and I just pile it on there so I can be like really, 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 really.
Yeah. But most of the concurrent ones, as in Joy's example, are all today, right? Money, trip, hotel, you see? None of those went into when my mom told me that I would never find a man who would love me, right? You see how the difference is there? So next week or next year when we ask, it's concurrent and cascading. That's what we're going to stick with. But when we're talking about the fears, see, there's the generating experience, the trauma, the drama, the thing your soul wants to learn. There's the generating experience, and then there's the fears that radiate from that. So the concurrent fears are out here, or the cascading fears. Maybe they go down like this. Ooh, somebody who's an artist could have fun with this one. And there's the generating event. So in Joy's case, there is a generating event. There are many, but everyone's got lots. But the one that's coming up is, do I want to be on the planet at this time? And the concurrent fears show up. Now, there's probably a cascading fear that's attached to it too. But she showed with the concurrent this time. And of course, the generating event needs to be dealt with. But sometimes you can't tackle the generating event until you've transformed all the fears pictures that you're being shown. Because you're too wrapped up in going around the circle of fears or down the line of fears to even become conscious of the generating event.